I just want you to picture this. A 4 years old child in our states, let's say battling stage 4 cancer, and the mother or the father is undocumented. Under these laws, either the father or the mother could be detained, deported, and separated without consent or compassion. What danger does that child pose? What safety our state gained by deporting a 2 years old American citizen and a 4 years old fighting cancer? Let's ask, what is the danger? And yes, we know we have Plyler versus Doe, which protects the right of education, children right to attend school. But if their family is too afraid to seek food, healthcare, or housing, how can those US citizen children from mixed relative can they learn? How can they learn? It's like being handed a car under the hot burning sun, but denied you a gas, the key to start the engine. So what's gonna be in that car? You're gonna steam in that car. So that's how sometimes the shelter that we have becomes a prison. So I'm asking you all, we cannot call ourselves a free and moral society if we abandon the most vulnerable among us. So let's reject cruelty, let's reject fear, and let's choose justice. Because this is not just about immigrants, but it is about who we become if we allow this injustice to continue. So I thank you all for your time, and I'll stay more for any comment and questions.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, for your comments. There'll be time for questions and answers when the other presenters finish. Next, we have John Sellers from Second Harvest of Greater New Orleans and Acadiana. John?
Hi, how you doing? I just want to share a couple things. I am John Siller, Second Harvest, South Louisiana. So we cover 23 parishes going from the Mississippi border to the Texas state line. And I just want to talk about our situation real quick. Since January, we've been experiencing significant disruption in our food supply due to federal policy changes from the USDA. Our previously allocated food assistance funding has been retracted, reducing our expected USDA deliveries throughout the year. And for context, just to give you an idea of the importance of the USDA, in fiscal year 2024, which ended in June of 2024, the USDA provided 40% or the equivalent of 15 million meals that Second Harvest distributed that year. We see these policy changes at the USDA continuing to negatively impact our food supply for the foreseeable future. So at minimum, these changes could translate into an annualized impact of 3.7 million meals that we'll no longer receive. And this comes at a time when food insecurity in Louisiana, not just South Louisiana, is up 827,000. It's up about 6%, or 1 in 6 people are experiencing food insecurity, and about 30% are children. Now, the interesting thing is, what does this have to do with SNAP? I must remind that for every one meal that a food bank in Louisiana provides, SNAP provides 9 meals. So SNAP is a critical part of addressing food insecurity in Louisiana, as well as South Louisiana. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the SNAP education sessions, because that's on the cutting block, because I don't think that people understand the importance. Second Harvest provides hundreds of SNAP education sessions every year. These sessions provide easy to make, budget-friendly, quick and easy nutrition meals with a focus on healthy, nutritious food. And this is important because people across all income levels, not just people who qualify for SNAP, are not as skilled at meal preparation as their parents and grandparents were. As time passes, the skill for cooking goes down. And so we are able to educate people who receive SNAP. One of our nutrition ed presenters focuses on meals that are culturally relevant, such as a soul food, but with a healthy twist. yet delicious, because it's got to be good. Teaching people how to prepare meals enables them to stretch SNAP benefits they receive in general. Ingredients for these meals cost less than prepared meals that they could cost, given that they might not know how to cook. So SNAP education makes SNAP dollars go further. So I appreciate the time to just kind of share those pieces of information. I'm going to pass it on to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We appreciate it. And John will be available later for questions and answers also. So next we have Dr. Jennifer Aveo, sure I butchered that name, from the director of the New Orleans Health Department. Dr. Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks to Feeding Louisiana and the many, many partners represented here that are working together to fight hunger in our state. I want to give you all a little bit of data and background to really underscore why these changes to SNAP proposed in the bill are really devastating. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, which is a nonpartisan national organization, estimates that the current SNAP provisions in the House version of this bill will result in 178,000 Louisiana residents living in households with adults, school-age children, and without disability will lose some or all of their SNAP benefits. Just think of that number for a second. That is 6 figures of our friends and neighbors. That will undoubtedly worsen food insecurity. And food insecurity already, as you've heard, is a systemic issue that disproportionately affects those on the margins. Louisiana is especially affected by food insecurity, and New Orleans in particular has one of the highest rates of food insecurity in the nation. These cuts will harm residents' health. They will widen existing disparities in health outcomes. There are a lot of concerns with the SNAP cuts. For one, they would increase states' contributions to the program, which our state, as well as every other state, can't really handle in terms of the burden on our own budget. They would expand SNAP's already harsh, ineffective, and very red tape laden work reporting requirements, and they would cut food benefits in a number of different ways. We know that already there are substantial barriers to accessing SNAP in Louisiana. Not even 70% of those Orleans Parish residents who are eligible to receive SNAP currently do, because it is difficult to access even despite all of our best efforts. And cuts are further going to drive down these utilization rates. So people who truly need this program will not be able to get it. And then reducing the amount that families get to pay for food through SNAPs will tighten food budgets of those already struggling to feed themselves. It'll also hurt our local economies by reducing expenses at stores that accept SNAP, grocery stores, corner stores. I think we've all felt the pain of rising food costs over the past few years, but those individuals who really rely on assistance to keep their families whole are going to be cut most of all. So as the health director, we at the health department understand that SNAP is critical for health. We know that our new health leadership in Washington has placed a strong focus on increasing access to nutritious and healthy foods, but cutting SNAP undermines that completely. We can't make America healthy again by robbing millions of our citizens of ways to eat healthy food and avoid chronic disease that's caused by poor diet. And so that's why the New Orleans Health Department is speaking out loudly against these cuts. And I just want to highlight a little bit of how food insecurity and cutting access to fresh food worsens health outcomes. Number one, it's well established that SNAP has improved health outcomes over decades by supplementing food budgets of low-income families and individuals, which reduce behaviors like skipping meals, binge eating, or opting for cheaper but less nutritious food, and also consuming a much less varied diet. The evidence is very clear that SNAP benefits make people healthy. We know that food insecurity in general is associated with worsening rates and worsening severity of specific diseases like obesity, hypertension, and diabetes, which are really the top killers of our residents here. For children in particular, food insecurity has severe effects on developmental health, other childhood disease rates, and their performance in school. If children do not have access to nutritious meals, they cannot learn. There's also a direct link between food insecurity and violence of many kinds, interpersonal violence, child abuse, and neglect. So ensuring broad availability of nutritious foods through SNAP not only keeps us healthy, but it also keeps us safer. And SNAP funds help make nutritious foods more affordable for those who want to purchase them. It's not cheap to eat healthy. It takes time. And so these cuts are likely to force recipients who were previously buying healthy foods to have to choose cheaper, highly processed, calorie-dense, unhealthy foods to meet their needs every day. In other words, these are cuts to benefits that are likely to result in eating more of the foods that our HHS secretary identifies as toxic. So this really makes no sense. At the same time, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act also has severe cuts to Medicaid proposed. This is a double whammy for millions of our friends and neighbors. Removing food access and removing healthcare access means that America will be poorer, sicker, and less productive. Because a hungry America is a sick America. Again, we know that SNAP alleviates poverty, mitigates chronic disease, and saves healthcare costs in the process. Cutting this program abandons logic, abandons compassion, and abandons a mountain of positive evidence, and is simply bad for Louisiana and the country. So we're really proud to join today with so many of you in arguing that any cuts to SNAP are a cut to health and to our society. Thank you.
Gosh, thank you so much for your participation. We really appreciate your comments. Next, we have Michael McClanahan, president of the NCAA Louisiana State Conference. Michael's online. There you go, Michael.
Good morning, Mike McClain of the NAACP. And thank you all for allowing me to lend my voice to the hunger. We will not be silenced.
Michael, you've gone on mute real quick. Michael, thank you.
Can y'all hear me now?
That's great.
Okay. Please forgive me. I want to thank the Louisiana Hunger Coalition partners for allowing me to lend my voice and the NAACP to this cause. So let us be clear. The One Big Beautiful is a full onslaught on the health, safety, and survival of the most vulnerable people in Louisiana. This bill is not beautiful. It's brutal. It is political violence disguised as policy reform. It's garbage. And the NAACP Louisiana State Conference would not stand by and watch our communities be sacrificed for budget optics. The bill guts and undermines programs like, as we've said before previously, SNAP, which keeps families from starving, which assures mothers and babies don't suffer from malnutrition, Medicaid, which provides health care access to the working poor, the elderly, and the disabled. We call it what it is, a legislative lynching of the society, of the social safety net. You're cutting the lifelines of our people. We as Black people are already facing high rates of diabetes, hypertension, maternal mortality, and hunger. Now this bill aims to strip us of the very services meant to close those disparities. This is not physical responsibility. This is racial irresponsibility, and we refuse to let it happen on our watch. The name, One Beautiful Bill, nothing pretty about it. The reality, backroom budgeting that dodges public scrutiny and sacrifices the poor, the safety of the wealthy to the safety of the wealthy. You can dress it up all you want. A pig with lipstick is still a pig. But when a bill results in hungry children, sick elderly, and abandoned families, it is not beautiful. It is shameful. It is disgusting. It is dishonorable. And we will expose it for what it is. What happens when food programs are cut? More ER visits, more childhood trauma, more incarceration. Why? Because you will have good God-fearing people will do anything to survive. Survival mode. What happens when the healthcare slashes? More preventable deaths, more financial ruin, more hopelessness. dollar you cut from these programs becomes a pound of suffering that lands squarely on our backs. We're not asking, we're demanding our senators, our congressional people to withdraw this bill immediately. Restore full funding to every program that feeds and heals our people. Hold public hearings with full community input. Stop hiding behind fancy titles and vague promises. We see you, and we will remember. Bill Cassidy, John Kennedy, let it be known. If you vote for this bill, you're voting against the lives of every Louisiana, period. Community, if you're tired of being sick and tired of being ignored, this is your moment. If you're tired of seeing your grandmother turned away from the health care that she needs, or your children going to school hungry, now's the time to stand up, rise up. We're calling on churches, barber shops and beauty shops, student groups, community leaders, small businesses, fraternities and sororities to rise up and resist this attack. We will not be moved. The NAACP was born out of the struggle, and we are built for this fight. We will challenge this bill in the Capitol, in the streets, at the ballot box, and if need be, in the courtroom. This is not a request. This is a warning. We will protect our people at all costs. Any means necessary, because no justice should have no peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your passion on this. We really appreciate it. Next, we have Conrad Cable, who's one of our farmers that we work with at Feeding Louisiana. Conrad is the owner of Current Farms in Marion, Louisiana. So, Conrad?
Hey, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Feeding Louisiana, for getting all of us here today to talk about these really important issues. So my name is Conrad Cable. I'm a first-generation farmer, and Marion, Louisiana is in Union Parish, fourth largest parish and one of the most rural. I sell our produce online through a subscription service called a Farm Share, and we attend every Saturday at the Shreveport Farmers Market. I wanted to talk today about how important it is for small farms and the local economy to participate in programs like SNAP, because small to medium-sized farms grossing less than $400,000 per year, we don't qualify for a lot of the subsidies that commercial farmers qualify for. And so this is an incredible subsidy from the federal government, because I will tell you this, the hardest thing about being a small farmer is selling your produce for a price that makes you a living. And I think that it is really disheartening and shameful that whenever I sat in Speaker Mike Johnson's office 2 summers ago to talk and advocate about the Farm Bill, he told me that SNAP, EBT, WIC recipients accessing healthy, fresh food was a bipartisan issue. And this bill, I think, shows that that is a lie. And I am a working class person in a rural place, and I think that all working people in Louisiana deserve respect and dignity. And this big, beautiful bill is going to affect 400,000 children in Louisiana who rely on food assistance programs. It's going to affect people like Mr. Mike, the Vietnam veteran who buys plums from me every Saturday at the farmer's market. And it is going to affect all kinds of elderly people, especially here in the community that I live in, because it is incredibly hard for people who cannot drive anymore to go to the grocery store. And I just think that it is incredibly important for us as Louisianans and us as Americans to look out for those who have the least. And this big, beautiful bill, even whenever our group of farmers was talking to Senator John Kennedy, he didn't make time for us, but his staff told us that feeding Louisianans healthy food was also a bipartisan issue. So please, anyone who is listening to this, contact Senator Bill Cassidy, contact Senator John Kennedy, because SNAP, EBT, and WIC so important for keeping Louisiana healthy. I started this farm. I'm a little bit of an idealist, but I wanted to make my community a healthier place. And I think that if any of these lawmakers advocating for these changes would come out here and work for a day on my farm, it would break them. And they are so out of touch from how hard Louisianans work and how hard it is to survive in this state whenever these programs like this are cut. And we haven't talked much about Medicaid cuts, but for small business owners like me and my brother, that is essential for us to have health care. And there's 1 in 3 Louisianans. That's over 1.5 million people. I believe that's the second highest rate in the state for Medicaid. It is unconscionable and it is immoral for these lawmakers to be asking for these cuts to working people so that they can give tax cuts to billionaires. And that's really all that I have. Thank you guys so much for your time. And it was really a wonderful opportunity to talk to everyone.
Thank you, Conrad, for the work that you do and for speaking up today. I just want to piggyback on some things that you said about Medicaid. Some of the Medicaid proposals that are in the big, beautiful bill would reduce federal funding. It would limit enrollment. It would undermine the state flexibility plans. That means that we're going to have longer wait times, fewer providers, and reduce access to preventive and maternal health care services in Louisiana. Louisiana is not a unique state, but we've got to think about transportation, and we've got to talk about rural parishes. And most of the A-bodies, which are the able-bodied working people, are there working individuals who are in the state, but they're maybe working hourly jobs. Their jobs maybe not be consistent, but we have very few people who show up to the food bank, who are on SNAP, who are not doing the best for themselves and their families. And I think that's real important to say. Sometimes when we talk about these people on SNAP, it's not. These are our neighbors and our families, and they're doing the best they can for their families. So I want to thank everybody. We're going to go to answering questions here, but I hope you've heard not only the facts, but the passion, the conviction of each of our speakers. The neighbors, the clients, the residents we represent are worth fighting for, and we're here to see what happens. But let me be clear. We support efforts to reduce the federal deficit. There's no doubt about that. But those efforts must not come at the expense of the most vulnerable population in our state. Real fiscal responsibility means protecting programs that prevent deeper poverty, poorer health outcomes, and greater social instability. Many of the bill's proposals on SNAP and Medicaid do not solve the problem of poverty. They solve the problem of how many people are on SNAP and Medicaid. And that's not the purpose of those programs. We urge Senator Cassidy and Kennedy to oppose any cuts to SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, and the one big beautiful bill, and to prevent any future cuts. We're asking you to reach out today because together we can raise all of our voices. So at this time, we're going to ask if the media is on, if someone would like to raise their hands, or Francis, if you can help us see or come off mic and just start talking. If you have questions for anybody, we'll try to facilitate those to the right person. So we've had 158 people. I think it was 160 at one point join us. So a lot of people are here in the room that care about this issue. This represents a small population of Louisiana, but it shows the impact that we all have and the concerns that we have about this issue. So I'll be quiet and see if anybody has any questions for us.
Go for it, Sabrina. And you'll have to come off mute.
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Great, thank you so much. My question is for Mrs. Sillars. Can you talk about the impact of food insecurity on Second Harvest and the demand for help?
Yes, I can. Really, it goes back to my Econ 101 days. Okay. Supply is down, demand is up. Our food supply is down. As I mentioned earlier, we've seen reductions from the USDA. The annualized impact is about 3.7 million meals. At the same time, I think I mentioned 827,000 people in Louisiana, which is a 6% increase versus a year ago, are experiencing food insecurity. That's 1 in 6. 1 in 4 kids. In South Louisiana, it's 436. It's about 436,000 people who are experiencing food insecurity. Guess an increase of about 6% versus a year ago. So there are more people who are experiencing food insecurity coming to us looking for services, and we've got less food to provide them due to the USDA cuts. So what can we do? We're looking at the community for support, be it donated food or donated money, because we actually take those dollars and then we buy food, or we make sure that the food that we do receive is gotten to the pantries that need it to feed the neighbors in need. So that's what we're seeing, the impact of the food insecurity on us.
Thank you.
Hey, Sabrina, I just want to go and say one more thing that, a SNAP benefit is usually about $6 a day which is less than $2 per meal. And this gets really technical in the bill, but they are eliminating or making major restrictions to the Thrifty Health Program. And the Thrifty Health Program would allow Congress or the president or the administration to move the benefit level based on income, based on inflation and those kind of things. And they removed that completely from the bill. So we all know that groceries are going up. The cost of groceries are going up. So that $6 a day is not where we were a year ago. And so not having that flexibility in the one big beautiful bill really is going to impact the number of people who show up at the food bank on a regular basis. Dr.
Thank
Lupe.
you for that.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I just wanted to add a comment regarding the population of those that are impacted. I'm from the Board of Regents and work with the post-secondary education area. So our college students are very much impacted by food insecurity. One of the biggest impacts is they are not able to do well in school, and it impacts them in so many ways. So I wanted to bring just this comment to the table. We have a hunger-free campus program, which where we work with all of the campuses in the state to provide these resources to the students. However, many of these are underfunded, and a lot of them are grassroots types of efforts on the parts of the institutions themselves. So I just wanted to add that population to the conversation. Thank you, everyone.
We've got a question from Joe.
Yep.
Yeah, hi. My question is for Conrad. I don't know if you mentioned it, but how long have you been a farmer? Do you have like a yearly number?
Yeah, I started farming full-time in 2020. So I've been a full-time farmer, first generation full-time farmer since or for the last 6 years. And before that, I did farmers markets part-time for about 3 years. So I have almost a decade of agriculture experience.
And Conrad, do you want to share how many acres you're farming at this time and what products you're farming?
Yeah, this is not a big tractor farm. I farm on 3 acres of my family land, and we grow primarily salad mixes, leafy greens, root vegetables, and all 4 seasons of the year. But we do all the seasonal favorites. So this morning I was harvesting yellow squash, cucumbers, eggplants, and green beans, all of which we're going to take to the farmer's market, and we accept SNAP EBT tokens. So this is fresh, real food that my brother and I grow for people in our community.
Thank you, Conrad.
Elizabeth, you can go ahead, come off mute with your question.
Yeah, I have more of a, I guess less of a question, just I'm looking for more elaboration on something. You know, before I did this job, I was a college student. I ended up having a child in college, right, which is very hard. And I did have to get on, I was on SNAP, and I was on Medicaid and all these things. And I guess I guess I'm just looking for someone who knows a little bit more than me to maybe elaborate on how those programs, you know, they help people to, you know, better their lives. I think people have this misunderstanding. I know whenever some people would hear that I was on it, there's this misunderstanding that you're on it and you want to stay on it, but they're there to help you eventually get on your feet. And I was hoping to see if anyone that knows a little bit more than me can kind of elaborate how that works.
Marlia, do you want to come off mute and say something?
It looks like Sandra wanted to talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, good morning, everyone. I'm a single mother of 4. So I like to say this. Yes, honey, I understand. I was on SNAP at one time myself.
Sandra, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us who you work with?
Okay, I'm Sandra Robertson. I work for Bossier Parish Community College. We have the first initiated college food pantry that not only has a food pantry, but offer wraparound services to our students. I'm so passionate about this work because it's been a game changer for our students. We have seen magnitudes of students, the retention rate, the success rate, and graduation rates of our students. We help them with SNAP, we help them with Medicaid, we help them with child care assistance, and they stay in school. But they also are given 125 pounds of food a month every month where they can get this food from our campus every month. I also have 2 other campuses, and one in Sabine and Natchitoches. We are feeding those students down there as well. We also have added a hygiene corner, a diaper and wipes corner for our single parent families. I do all of this, but as a single mom of 4, my ex-husband left me pregnant with 2 babies, and I had to do it on my own. I don't like telling, I will tell you my story. I don't tell everybody else's story. I tell mine. And yes, I had to get on SNAP, and I had to figure out a way, how do I do this? And so I wasn't on it forever because by trade I was a nurse, but I had a high pregnancy that I was high risk. And so I couldn't be pregnant and work. And so food stamps were the best thing that could ever happen to me and my children. It got us out of what we were in. So it is very important that we continue this program. We help our students daily get on SNAP every day. And they are so glad and thankful, and they get approved. They work 20 hours a week. 20 hours a week is not a lot of money. We even have student workers I have work for me. They make $10 an hour, but they are still eligible to get on SNAP, and they only work 20 hours, but they still have to get their education. So SNAP is beneficial. All these are beneficial for our communities, our students, especially our students and our young people that are in elementary to secondary and post-secondary schools.
I will say that the national average is that about 52% of SNAP recipients leave the program within 12 months. And then another 67% of the SNAP recipients leave the program within 24 months. So this is not a long-term solution for anybody to be on SNAP. It's a bridge to help people and people who are in vulnerable situations. So thank you for that question. Thank you, Sandra, for sharing. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So we've got a comment from Dawn in the comments. Not sure if Dawn wanted to come on mute and ask a question or
I think I'm off mute. What was my question?
I wasn't sure if you had a question. You said people don't get it or care about the huge numbers, this many billions, millions over X amount of years. People are concerned with their own family. People want to know how this is going to affect my
Absolutely.
kids' dinner tonight.
Exactly. You know, I'm with Hunger Free America. So, and I'm also a former SNAP participant. People, you know, in general, people can't grasp this is going to cut this program by $30 billion over the next 10 years, and it's going to save this much. People don't care about it, and people don't really want to hear that. People care about how is this going to affect me and my kids' dinner tonight. That's the numbers they want to know. Not even I can really grasp $30 billion over a X amount of period and reduce this or reduce that. That is so in the weeds. People just want it broken down and being told, dear Mary, this will cut your kid's dinner by $4. People want it broken down because people in survival mode, which is what I was when I was on SNAP, you have to do SNAP math. And so that's what people need to know. How is this going to affect my dinner for my child tonight? You can worry about your child. I'm worried about mine. And I actually haven't seen anybody break it down for people to truly understand. The numbers are so big. I don't even know what a billion looks like. And I'm also a nurse. So I can't, it's hard for people to wrap their head around those huge numbers. We need it broken down to the little pieces so it makes more of an impact and people can see, oh my gosh, my neighbor's a single mom with 2 kids and her family is going to be losing $20 a day. That's how we need to break it down, I think, in my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate those comments. Joseph Collins, I think you're up next.
Yeah, so my question is if anyone kind of wants to answer this, but for obviously we're talking about people that use SNAP benefits, but for people who don't use SNAP benefits, what's your message to them to get them interested in wanting to help, to wanting to send word to their local representative or to their state senator?
Well, we often say that SNAP is not a handout, it's really an economic development issue. That we know that for every dollar that's spent, $1.80 in economic development is happening in that community. So SNAP dollars are really instrumental in supporting independent grocers, C-stores. It really will, if we have cuts on SNAP, we will see an impact on employment in communities and the way grocery stores and smaller grocery stores will be able to serve their communities. Much like the effects that some of the Medicaid effects might have on rural hospitals and rural clinics, we're going to see that same thing with SNAP. If SNAP is cut, we will see rural communities being hurt by this because some of their biggest employers are the grocery stores and convenience stores around there. And Dr. Jennifer had maybe a follow-up for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that SNAP cuts, again, would increase food insecurity, which worsens healthcare outcomes, which means that the healthcare system gets more expensive for all of us, right? When folks are showing up in emergency departments with advanced disease that could have been prevented by better diet, better nutrition, then that's more costly for all of us. So I don't think, I think that resonates. The other thing is that SNAP benefits positively impact educational outcomes for young children. When young children are hungry, they do not learn. An ill-educated population is not a prosperous one, as we've seen for many years in Louisiana, but Louisiana actually has made some of the greatest gains in educational attainment in the country over the last few years. And much of that comes from low-income families who directly benefit from SNAP. So we are effectively at risk of erasing all of those educational gains that we've really worked hard to get over the last few years. So there are healthcare costs, there's societal costs, there's economic costs, there's educational costs that really affect all of us.
Sabrina, did you have a question or did you want to comment on that?
I was going to say Tina had mentioned that she wants to speak. Yeah, so Tina and then Sabrina.
Okay.
if that's okay.
Sure.
Hello. My name is Tina Haynes, and I'm with Acumen Fiscal Agent. We service families with disabilities. So I just learned about this meeting, so I'm glad I joined. I just want to say that, the big bill as far as SNAPs and hunger in Louisiana would affect a lot of people. We have a lot of different class of people on food stamps, whether it be students, families, elderly. And I think we all just need to come together and just try to figure it out and work together on how we can, you know, combat this big bill. Another thing I want to say too is that I know a lot of families in my family who are on SNAPs, and they have already complained that what they get is still not enough. So if there's going to be cuts, more cuts, then they're really close to starvation now. So it's really going to be dire if this big bill passes. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Tina. I appreciate that. Sabrina?
Yes, my other question is, I have asked some members of our congressional delegation about concerns about the proposed Medicaid cuts, and at least from a couple have been told people who deserve to be on Medicaid will not be affected. Do you agree?
I'll take that one. I think that's patently untrue. And I'm not sure whose standard of deserving one would imagine. If we believe that access to healthcare is a fundamental right, then that's all of us. I think generally when you hear those sorts of statements, they're talking about able-bodied individuals not working, loafing on their parents' couch and playing video games. That's how I've heard it. That is a very, 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 very small number of individuals. 92% of those currently on Medicaid are either working in school or caregiving for someone. So that is the vast majority of individuals who are already participating to the extent of their ability in the labor force. What the cuts would do would be effectively to kick hundreds of thousands of those individuals off, and or make it more difficult and more onerous for those who do qualify to keep their eligibility, while devastating payments to providers and hospitals, and almost certainly leading to closures of rural hospitals. Louisiana has not had any closures of rural hospitals in the last 10 years because we expanded Medicaid. So, we all want those who need these benefits the most to have them. But what I think those who are in favor of cuts conveniently forget is that is a lot of people. In Speaker Johnson's own backyard, there are districts, there are parishes that have greater than 50% of their residents on Medicaid. So that I don't believe that he would say that 50% or more of the people in his district don't deserve health care or are somehow unworthy of it. So those statements really just don't match up with the facts. And then disabilities, we have heard that they are not specifically targeting disability services. However, when you talk about work requirements, when you talk about changing eligibility to be recertified every 6 months, that will unquestionably dump people off of Medicaid simply because of onerous requirements and paperwork. So there's no question in my mind that individuals with disabilities will be negatively impacted, even if they are not specifically targeted by the current language.
Thank you.
There's more questions about
Pat, I think you're on mute.
There's nothing has gone into effect yet because they're, hopefully the final bill will not look like this. And so it has been passed, and certain provisions, if it stayed in its current form, certain provisions would take effect, I think, within 6 months. Certain would take longer, another year or 2 years or 3 years to be implemented. So it's really kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah, and part of the implementation problem is Congress might pass something and then it goes through an administration process and they kind of make rules and regulations and then gets that down to the state. So we don't even know some of the consequences that may happen until it becomes a law, and then there's rules and regulations on it. So even whatever happens with the big beautiful bill, there's still a whole nother advocacy program that we need to do to make sure that it's implemented and legally done. So it's to be determined. Right now, the big beautiful bill is in the Senate. So the Senate is working on that. So we're encouraging everyone to reach out to Senator Cassidy and Kennedy and tell them that the big beautiful bill should be protecting your voters in Louisiana and the citizens who need us the most in Louisiana, and to protect SNAP and Medicaid. Once the Senate finishes their bill, it will go back to the House. And so then we have an opportunity to talk to the House of Representatives saying the same thing. Then we can do a full court press on the House side. But right now it's in the Senate, and the Senate's the only ones who really are talking about it. The House is hoping that the Senate's going to just rubber stamp what they were going to do. We know that's not going to happen. There's going to be some conferences to negotiate the program. The president is asking that this be done by July 4th. Seems like a big task for us to do that. But we never know. So again, any other questions, comments anyone would like to come off? We're coming up to almost an hour in here. So
Mr. Pat, I have a question. So
yes,
you
ma'am,
said that this should be done by the 4th of July?
That's what the president's asking, for him to be able to sign the bill by the 4th of July. So it would have to finish the Senate, go back to the House, our conference, and then go to the president's desk. So we are in a very short time period if that happens. The president made a statement yesterday, no one's going on vacation until the big beautiful bill is done. Not that he has control over that, but that's what he made a statement of saying that. Okay. Wow. Okay. I think we're coming to the end of this time. I just can't thank everybody for being here, all of our co-sponsors, everyone who's part of the Louisiana Anti-Hunger Coalition. I do want to give a special shout out to Francis on Feeding Louisiana staff for really coordinating all of these kind of things. If you are on the press and you want to do an interview separate from this and you want us to help you coordinate or get B-roll from somewhere, you can stay on the line and Francis and I will help coordinate with the people. But again, thank you all for coming here. I hope everyone hears the passion that is in this room. Lots of diverse opinions, and those we're not speaking with one voice, but we are speaking about passion, about caring for people who need us the most. So thank you so much for your time. Again, if press would like to stay on and have any questions for us or like to coordinate additional interviews, Francis and I can do that. Again, thank y'all again. Have a great week.
Thank you all.
Again, thanks to all the speakers.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
I have a lot of questions.
Okay, you can come on. Sandra, come on.
I'm so sorry, but this is so interesting. We need to know about these things. And, you know, here at the college, we feed, since the college has opened and started this program, we have fed over 28,000 students. That's a lot of people. And I don't think they know the magnitude of this and how great it is and what it's doing to help our students be future leaders and to accomplish their goals and have a support system right here on the campus where they're able to go ahead. And I would like to have a meeting. We need to have a big meeting. I mean, because we looked at our numbers And we saw that students that utilized the pantry, utilized our services, tripled and doubled in success rate, graduation rate, and completion rates. So it is helping, and it needs to be presented in legislation how important this is, not just for our communities, but in order to make our future leaders, our young people, to have some hope that, hey, I can be somebody, I can do something with my life. I do not have to be on this assistance the rest of my life. And we can change the game. It's doing it. I'm seeing it before my eyes every day. I'm sorry. I get on my soapbox.
No, we appreciate it. That's the passion I think we've heard around here. Anything we can do to help get that message out, we will. I mean, Marlia can reach out to you and see if there's something you want to do, particularly with your students, or if we want to have a town hall meeting on your campus, or virtual or in person, we can help coordinate.
I would love to do that and get our students involved and let them speak. I would like them to speak on how important this is.
Yeah. Thank you all. I think that's a very good point that you raised, Sandra. And yes, if we can have either a town hall with our senators, or we can do an advocacy day visit into their office and bring these concerns to them. Because taking away SNAP, you're taking away the future of so many of Louisianians that depends on it. And look how you laid it right. The student that in college, family that are going through challenges, that they need that lift, that bridge to take them to the next level. And you breaking that behind, that means that, hey, you are in this space, you can get back to the next level where you can be economically sound. So it is more of getting people more into poverty than uplifting them. So I'm 100% second that if we can have a time with impacted community and to meet with Cassidy and Kennedy's office as well.
I will tell you that they are less likely to do a town hall meeting because they're so busy. Calling their offices and stating what your thoughts are is real important. And if you want to have a one-on-one with one of their policy persons, ask for their appointment secretary and say you want to talk to their policy leader, and they should have to make time for you. In fact, I've got a call at 11:30 with Cassidy's staff about this.
Okay.
Tia, do you have a question? Or is that?
Yeah, I'm just going to mention that if it's not solidified by July 4th, I do believe July 17th is when Congress will they'll be coming home. So there is opportunity to try and get them one-on-one. No, specifically, we're looking at the amount of children who will be without food. What happens when Medicaid is cut, and at the end of the year, when I file my taxes, if I don't have adequate health insurance, am I going to be penalized even further? So there is a lot of concerns, and I just second what Mr. Cisse said, and as well as Ms. Robeson, that there is a collective effort that needs to be done with in person, whether the senators or congressional members are there or not.
Yeah. You if I may jump in right quick, you would think with Mike Johnson being the speaker from Louisiana, Steve Scalise being from Louisiana, second in command, and we shouldn't have to work this hard for our stuff that benefits Louisiana. We're always last in stuff that's good and always first in stuff that's bad. I don't understand that. They leave Louisiana and go to DC to work against our own interests. At some point in time, we need to raise up and unelect them. They work for us. Once the people realize that the persons in Congress or in the State House work for us, we the people power. People have the power. We need to collectively unelect them. There's election coming up. We need to put them on our minds. Their pictures need to be everywhere. We need to have billboard signs. Social media need to have their faces on it because we can control them with our votes. Right now, because we don't vote or we vote scantily, they think they have the power, but we need to raise up against them with our votes, and we can vote them all out.
Thank you. I want to give everybody a chance before we end the call. Does anybody else have anything else to say? Again, if press wants to reach out to anybody for individual interviews, we're happy to coordinate that.
Will this be on the recording? Can we have a copy of this? Please.
Yes. Yes. After we end, I'm gonna edit the recording to take out the first part, send it out to everybody, and hopefully I'll be able to send out a transcript as well. As well as everybody's contact information, and all of that. So be on the lookout for an email with all that info probably this afternoon.
Well, I would love to have a town hall meeting. I'm all game. We can have it right here in Bibbsy.
That's great.
I'll come, Sandra. I'll come.
Me too. I'll make the trip up there. Daryl, I'm not sure if I'm saying your name right, has a question?
Yes, I want to know, so we have these cuts that they're proposing. Are there any measures that are being proposed in their place to help people who will have food aid and Medicaid cut? Like what provisions are there? Is it just we're cutting, we don't care what's going to happen, or are there some measures that they're proposing to help people make a transition?
You know, I could try to speak on that if I put on a very conservative hat. You know, they're renewing the tax breaks that Trump administered in his first administration, and that's still in the one big beautiful bill. If they don't do that, then it's really gonna. They would say that the tax increases would hurt people more than the cuts to SNAP. And they think the cuts, the lowering the tax rate is an economic development that will float all boats. So that's kind of a trickle down approach on economics, that they think that by putting more money into the economy, everyone's going to benefit. And well, we don't think that's a bad idea. We just don't think you should do both at the same time. You can't, you know, make all these cuts and then reward people who are making more money at the same time. So it's hard for we could have had somebody on the other side talk about this, but there are no new programs, you know, that are happening. Most of the programs that aren't even being cut are going to be held at the current level. So like the senior boxes that we pass out to 36,000 seniors in the state of Louisiana, that budget is flat. So we know that since food cost is going to be going up, that we are not going to be able to buy enough food for 36,000 people in Louisiana. So that count's going to be going down. So that's the problem is really looking at the domino effect of some of these kind of things. It sounds great, like, oh, we're not going to cut senior boxes, but we really are because administration goes up and food costs go up. And then, oh, we only want to work on abuse and fraud, but then this isn't really abuse and fraud work. It's really more punitive than that.
Thank you. I appreciate your answer.
Sure. I'm just making it up as I go along, Daryl. You know, I'm trying to figure it all out like we are. We do know that, again, we're just reminding everyone to try to call their senators at this point. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for everyone who's left on the call. I'm really proud of Louisiana that we had over 150 people on this call in such a short time period. Y'all are all our heroes, and thank you for getting the word out to everybody and for staying with us for so long. So thank you very much. Francis, any other closing thing business we need?
Thank you. Be on the lookout for an email this afternoon with the recording. And Feeding Louisiana, we do have a template letter that you can send to the senators. However, I need to update it so that it reflects the recent Senate parliamentarian decision to eliminate that state cost sharing provision and that kind of thing. But once I update it, that link will be in the communication that I send out along with the recording. So Be on the lookout. Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you all.